Commander Vexilor Tornik of the Galactic hegemony stood at the edge of his command vessel's vast viewport, gazing at the swirling blue-green orb suspended in the void. The humans called it Earth. To him, it was nothing more than his next conquest. "Status report," he demanded, his four eyes narrowing as he adjusted the ceremonial medals gleaming on his exoskeletal chest. Lieutenant Praz advanced swiftly, tentacles coiling around a datapad. "Commander, the human delegation has confirmed their arrival. They will dock with our diplomatic ship within 3 Earth hours. All preparations for the signing ceremony are complete." "And the real preparations?" Vexler's voice dropped to a dangerous murmur. Praz's mandibles clicked nervously. "The invasion fleet remains hidden behind the gas giant they call Jupiter. Cloaking systems are at full efficiency. The humans suspect nothing." "Of course they don't." Vexler's mandibles curved into the semblance of a smile. These mammals only clawed their way out of their own nuclear ashes a century ago. Their technology is crude. Their armies laughable. Yet somehow they have claimed a dozen star systems in mere decades. That kind of anomaly cannot be allowed to continue. "The Council agrees," Praz said carefully. Vexler straightened to his full, imposing height. "Humanity grows too fast, adapts too easily. Today, we will end that threat. First with diplomacy, then with overwhelming force." He gestured toward a glowing holographic display. The so-called peace treaty shimmered in the air, filled with promises of cooperation and mutual defense. Beneath the benevolent phrasing, however, lay carefully hidden clauses granting the hegemony covert access to Earth's defense grid. Once activated, these backdoors would render humanity helpless before the 5,000 warships waiting in the shadows of Jupiter. "Has Ambassador Krendel arrived?" Vexler asked. "Yes, Commander," Praz replied. "He's awaiting your briefing in the strategy chamber." "Good," Vexler said with satisfaction. "The old fool truly believes this treaty is genuine. His sincerity will be crucial in deceiving the humans." As Vexler strode through the dimly lit corridors of his flagship, crew members saluted sharply. The Vrexian commander was a living legend. His campaigns had crushed 17 intelligent species across the galaxy. Humanity would be his 18th and perhaps his crowning victory. The doors to the strategy chamber slid open with a hiss, revealing Ambassador Krendel. The Pluridian diplomat's silvered skin hung in soft folds over his small frame. Unlike the warlike Vrexians, Pluridians were famed throughout the stars for their gentle diplomacy and tireless pursuit of peace. "Commander Tornik," Krendel said warmly, offering a formal bow. "A historic day is at hand. This treaty will bring peace at last between the hegemony and humanity." "Indeed," Vexler replied, masking his contempt behind a veneer of diplomacy. "A most historic day." Krendel's large silver eyes blinked slowly. "I must admit, the Council's change of heart surprises me. For decades, they viewed humans with suspicion, and now this sweeping treaty. Remarkable." "The Council has recognized humanity's potential," Vexler said gravely. "Better to make them allies than enemies." "Quite right," Krendel said with enthusiasm. "I've always admired the humans' adaptability. Did you know they can survive in almost any environment, from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts?" "Fascinating," Vexler replied dryly. In truth, humanity's adaptability was the very reason the Council had ordered their subjugation. An aggressively expanding, highly adaptive species was a threat to the hegemony's dominance, and that threat would be neutralized. "Well then," Krendel said cheerfully, "I'll review the treaty one last time before their arrival. Everything must be perfect." Once the ambassador left, Vexilor activated his private communication channel. A holographic image of Supreme Overlord Zixtar flickered into existence, the massive head of the hegemony's leader looming in the projection. "Commander," the Overlord rasped. "Report." "Everything proceeds as planned, Supreme One," Vexilor said. "The humans have accepted our invitation. Ambassador Krendel remains unaware of our true intentions. The invasion fleet awaits my signal. The moment the treaty is signed and Earth's defense codes are transmitted, we will strike. By tomorrow, their homeworld will be under our control, and their colonies left isolated." Zixtar's heavy-lidded eyes glimmered with approval. "The Council grows uneasy about these humans. Reports indicate they've developed technologies far beyond their expected capabilities. One of our recon drones detected energy signatures consistent with experimental phase shifting." Vexler's exoskeleton stiffened. "Impossible." Phase shifting remains theoretical even for our scientists. Nevertheless, Zixstar said coldly, we cannot take chances. Humanity must be contained before they advance further. Execute the plan without fail, Commander. The future of the hegemony depends on it. The hologram of Supreme Overlord Zixstar dissolved, leaving Commander Vexilor alone in the dimly lit chamber. His mandibles twitched as he mulled over the troubling words. Phase-shifting technology. If humanity had truly stumbled upon such an advancement, it was far more dangerous than he had given them credit for. Still, their fate was already sealed. Within hours, their civilization would be broken, their colonies isolated, and their people reduced to slaves. 3 hours later, Vexilor stood in the resplendent diplomatic hall, the chamber gleaming with banners and symbols of supposed unity. On the view screens, a sleek silver vessel maneuvered gracefully into the docking bay. Its precision startled him. It was almost refined for a species still dismissed as primitive. Presenting the diplomatic delegation of Earth, the ship's AI announced in half a dozen galactic tongues. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing 5 humans in formal attire. At their head strode a tall woman with rich dark skin and closely cropped white hair. Her bearing was regal, her posture radiating calm authority even amid towering aliens. Ambassador Diana Reeves, she introduced herself with a slight bow, representing the United Earth government. Vexilor inclined his armored frame and performed the formal Vrexian greeting, claws clicking together. Commander Vexilor Tornik of the Galactic Hegemony, we welcome you. In peace. The irony nearly made him laugh aloud. Ambassador Krendel bustled forward, silver skin shimmering with genuine joy. Ambassador Reeves, at last we meet face to face. This is truly a historic moment. Indeed it is, Ambassador, Reeves replied smoothly, her voice carrying a practiced warmth. Humanity has long anticipated this day. As pleasantries flowed, Vexilor allowed his gaze to roam. Beside Reeves stood Admiral Jackson Parker, broad-shouldered, blue-eyed, and unmistakably military, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's space fleet, according to intelligence. 2 advisors followed, Thomas Whitfield, thin and jittery, and Lakshmi Patel, serene and composed. The last was Dr. Marcus Fleming, Earth's scientific envoy. Something about the scientist set Vexilor on edge. While the others engaged in courteous exchanges, Fleming's eyes darted across the chamber, scanning every detail with sharp precision. Not admiration, Vexilor realized, but calculation. He made a mental note. This one bears watching. After refreshments, Ambassador Krendel gestured eagerly toward the adjoining chamber. Shall we proceed to the treaty room? The document awaits only our signatures to usher in a new era of cooperation. Reeves inclined her head. By all means. The treaty room was a spectacle of wealth and power. A vast table of rare minerals dominated the space, and above it hovered the treaty itself, projected in both Galactic Standard and English. Before we begin, Reeves said, Admiral Parker carries a ceremonial gift from Earth. The Admiral stepped forward, presenting an ornate wooden box. Commander Tornik, Ambassador Krendel, he said solemnly, on behalf of Earth, we offer this token of peace. Inside lay a flawless blue sphere, glowing faintly. This sphere contains our ocean's water, soil from our continents, and air from our skies, Parker explained. To us, these elements embody life itself. We present them as a symbol of the new life we hope to forge between our peoples. Feigning reverence, Vexilor accepted the offering. A most thoughtful gesture. The hegemony accepts! Krendel's silver eyes shone with genuine awe. Beautiful. This belongs in the Hall of Diplomacy, a symbol for the ages. Dr. Fleming added calmly. The sphere also contains a data crystal, records of our culture, our music, art, literature, and science. We hope it gives insight into humanity's spirit. Krendel's enthusiasm only deepened. Fascinating. I cannot wait to explore it. Vexilor forced a polite nod while sneering inwardly. Soon, the hegemony would strip Earth bare, resources plundered, knowledge dissected, cities burned. These tokens would serve only as relics of a defeated species. Now, he said, gesturing toward the holographic treaty, shall we make history? The ceremonial reading began. Yet as the words of false friendship echoed through the chamber, Vexilor noticed something unsettling. The humans showed none of the relief. Krendel finished the final clause, voice trembling with pride. And thus, we pledge mutual defense, technological exchange, and eternal friendship between the galactic hegemony and humanity." He turned to Reeves with outstretched hand. "Ambassador, would you honor us by signing first?" "With pleasure," Reeves replied. She stepped forward, hand hovering over the holographic field. At that precise moment, alarms blared through the chamber. "Commander Tornik," the ship's AI interrupted, voice sharp with urgency. Lieutenant Praz's voice broke through the chamber, sharp with panic. "Commander, multiple energy surges detected across the ship. Systems are failing. The fleet behind Jupiter is reporting identical disruptions." The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Every instinct Vexilor had honed in centuries of warfare roared to life. "Guards!" he barked. But before his security team could react, the small blue sphere Admiral Parker had presented began to glow with a deep, pulsing light. An expanding field of energy erupted outward. In an instant, every non-human in the chamber froze, caught in an invisible stasis. Only the humans remained free to move. Ambassador Reeves stepped up to the immobilized Vexilor, the diplomatic warmth gone from her face. Her eyes burned with controlled fury. "Commander Vexilor Tornik," she said coolly, "you look surprised. Did you truly believe we didn't know about your invasion fleet hidden behind Jupiter? Did you think your cloaking technology was beyond our reach?" Admiral Parker moved to her side, expression like steel. 5,000 warships, he said flatly. "That's not a diplomatic escort, that's an invasion armada." Dr. Marcus Fleming strolled closer, studying the paralyzed commander with clinical detachment. "Containment field is holding perfectly," he observed. "By now, similar fields have been deployed throughout your entire fleet." Vexilor strained to speak, mandibles trembling. "How?" Reeves leaned in, her voice low but edged with triumph. "We've known about the hegemony's plans for Earth since your first probe arrived 50 years ago. Your encrypted communications aren't as secure as you believe." Fleming smiled faintly. "We've been intercepting your messages, listening to your counsels, and studying your technology while presenting ourselves as a promising but harmless young species." Whitfield, no longer the jittery advisor he had seemed, added calmly, "Quantum entanglement communications. We developed them decades ago, but concealed the breakthrough from your observation posts, along with many other advancements." Admiral Parker's voice hardened. "Including phase-shifting technology. I understand that's been keeping your Supreme Overlord awake at night." Vexilor's 4 eyes widened in shock. "They knew everything." "You see, Commander," Reeves said evenly, "this treaty was never about peace. But unlike your deception, ours served a different purpose. We needed your entire command structure focused here, on us, while the real operation unfolded." "What operation?" Vexilor rasped. Lakshmi Patel, silent until now, stepped forward with a tablet glowing with tactical overlays. "At this very moment, human fleets are moving into position around every major hegemony installation in this sector. The containment fields have immobilized your forces long enough for us to seize strategic control." "But how?" Vexilor's voice cracked. "Your species has only 12 colonies. How many ships could you possibly muster?" Admiral Parker gave a harsh, mirthless laugh, the sound echoing off the chamber's walls. 12 colonies that you know about," he corrected. "We've been building in secret for decades, Commander, preparing. Because from the start, we knew the hegemony would never accept us as equals." Fleming's tone was almost conversational. "You should have studied our history more carefully. Humans have a long tradition of appearing weaker than we are when threatened. It's a survival tactic, and it works." Reeves glanced at Whitfield. "Initiate the next phase." Whitfield activated a sleek communication device. Operation Trojan Horse complete. All hegemony vessels secured. Proceed to Phase 2. Reeves turned back to the frozen Vexilor, her expression unreadable but her voice steady. "Do not mistake us for monsters. Commander." Ambassador Diana Reeves's tone was steady, almost gentle. "Unlike the hegemony, we do not seek to annihilate your civilization or enslave your people. We are only redefining the relationship from a new position of strength." Admiral Jackson Parker placed a fresh holographic file on the table, and the forged treaty that had hung over the chamber flickered away. In its place hovered a stark, uncompromising agreement. "This is the contract you will sign once the containment fields are lifted," Parker said. Read it carefully. It establishes a new power structure for this sector, with humanity as a leading authority, not a subordinate. Vexler's gaze slid to the frozen form of Ambassador Krendel. "And the Pluridian?" he rasped. "You will be released first," Reeves answered. He believed in genuine peace, and he will be a valuable ally in what follows. Dr. Marcus Fleming leaned forward, that quietly unsettling smile on his face. "The treaty we offered was a lie," he said, "but not in the way you imagined. You were never our target. We needed your command in one place while the real operation unfolded." Hours later, Vexler found himself confined in what had once been his private strategy chamber, now the stage for his humiliation. The paralysis field had been altered to permit movement but to block any hostile act. Across from him, Reeves and Parker sat, unreadable, composed, the architects of the reversal. 5,000 warships, Parker said, breaking the silence. Quite an investment for a diplomatic mission. Vexler's mandibles clicked with contained fury. "The hegemony preserves its interests by obliterating rivals," he growled. Reeves raised a single eyebrow. "Your plans targeted our cities for destruction and our people for slavery. That is not merely defense. That is extermination." A holographic projection blinked to life above the table. Live feeds of hegemony vessels ringed by sleek black ships of unmistakably human design. Vexler had never seen anything like them. They were far more sophisticated than humanity had allowed the galactic community to believe. "Your cloaking systems are elegant," Dr. Fleming observed as he entered, producing a compact device and setting it before Vexler. "But they are conceptually limited. You focus on bending light and absorbing electromagnetic emissions while neglecting gravitational signatures." Vexler fixed him with a look that sought to pierce the explanation. "Detecting gravitational anomalies on that scale would require equipment, vast, costly, beyond what your species should possess." Fleming's grin widened. "Precisely the advantage we exploited. While your intelligence networks watched our visible infrastructure and public research, we built a covert technological backbone beneath the surface." Parker activated another display. A map filled the air, more expansive than the hegemony's records had indicated. Stars once marked as empty burned blue, dozens of them. 57 colonized systems, Parker said plainly. "Not 12. Vexler's head retracted in disbelief. 57? "We recognized the threat from first contact," Parker continued. "Every public colonial endeavor was accompanied by 4 secret operations. For every advance we revealed, we banked 3 in reserve." Reeves leaned forward, voice cool and businesslike. "Now we will negotiate the terms of our coexistence. The containment fields will collapse within 24 hours. Before that happens, we need binding agreements in place." A soft chime announced Lakshmi Patel's entrance. Her expression was calm, but the device in her hand pulsed with urgency. "The Supreme Council demands an immediate release of their fleet and threatens reprisals if we refuse," she reported. "Put them through," Reeves said without hesitation. It's time they learned whom they were dealing with. The air above the table shimmered and filled with the massive visages of the 7 members of the hegemony's Supreme Council. Each figure dominated its slice of the projection, a living emblem of the Empire's founding lineages. Supreme Overlord Zixtar took center stage, his cranial ridges flaring with barely contained rage. "What is the meaning of this outrage?" Zixtar thundered. "Release our vessels at once or face the full might of the hegemony." Reeves did not flinch. "I am Ambassador Diana Reeves of Earth," she said, projecting calm authority despite being physically dwarfed by the alien leaders. "We request a formal renegotiation of humanity's relationship with the hegemony. You would dictate terms?" hissed Counselor Traz Gore, the serpentine voice of the Naga Collective. "Your species is barely out of evolutionary infancy," Admiral Parker stepped forward. "Yet this infant has immobilized your invasion fleet and penetrated your supposedly secure communications. Perhaps biological age is the wrong measure." "We did not seek this confrontation," Reeves added smoothly. "Humanity sought peaceful integration. Your plan to exterminate us left us no choice." Fleming tapped a control and unfolded an unfamiliar schematic into the shared visual field. "We have transmitted modification protocols to each immobilized hegemony vessel," he explained. "These are instructions that will prevent catastrophic power failures when the containment fields collapse. Without these changes, the energy cascade will permanently disable your fleets. It's extortion, Counselor Drev bellowed, pummeling an unseen console on his end of the link. Whitfield, who had been working quietly at a terminal, projected a comprehensive diplomatic brief into the common space. Our terms are simple, he announced. All human space, including the 57 colonized systems and an additional buffer zone, will be recognized as sovereign. Non-aggression pacts will be established with each member species. Trade will continue under new protocols designed to benefit both sides. Supreme Overlord Zixtar's voice dropped to a dangerous hush. And if we refuse? Parker's reply was measured and cold. We will release your ships and crews unharmed, with fuel enough to return to hegemony space. But the technological advantage we demonstrated today will be used to secure our future in ways diplomacy cannot. The alternatives, if you reject negotiation, will be far less pleasant. The unspoken threat hung in the projection's blue light. Humanity had the power to annihilate the invasion armada, but had chosen restraint. They were offering terms, not mercy. You have 6 hours to consider our proposal, Ambassador Reeves concluded. We await your decision. The transmission cut off, leaving the chamber cloaked in silence. Commander Vexler studied the humans with new eyes. He had underestimated them utterly, but a single question gnawed at him. You could have destroyed us, he said slowly. Why didn't you? Ambassador Reeves's answer was calm, almost disarming. Because we are not you, Admiral Parker added with quiet finality. We don't require annihilation. Balance is enough. Dr. Fleming's gaze glittered with intellectual delight. Besides, your civilization has achievements worth preserving. Technologies, cultural legacies. Any brute can destroy. The true test of an advanced species is coexistence. Vexler's mandibles clicked in a sound like bitter laughter. The Council will see this mercy as weakness. At first, perhaps, Lakshmi Patel observed, her tone composed. But perception shifts with evidence and time. The doors slid open, and Ambassador Krendel entered under human escort. The Pluridian diplomat's silver eyes burned with uncharacteristic fury. Commander Tornik, he said sharply, I have been briefed on the hegemony's intentions. They used me, my reputation for honesty, to cloak genocide. It was never personal, Vexler muttered. Krendel's response cut like a blade. Strategic murder is always personal to its victims. He turned to Reeves. The Pluridian Federation withdraws from the hegemony effective immediately. We request neutral observer status in these negotiations. Granted, Reeves replied without hesitation. Your voice will be valued. A chime signaled new activity. Thomas Whitfield checked his console. Admiral, multiple transmissions are coming in from hegemony member worlds. News of today's events is spreading far faster than expected. Parker frowned. Impossible. We've kept strict information control. We didn't release anything. Whitfield allowed himself a thin smile. Roughly 3 hours ago, someone within the hegemony's own communication net began broadcasting details of the failed invasion and humanity's response. All eyes fell on Krendel, who looked serenely innocent yet faintly satisfied. The Pluridian Diplomatic Corps values transparency, he said mildly. Dr. Fleming laughed aloud. Brilliant. Now the conquered species know their empire is not invincible. Internal pressure will tear at the Council from within. A chill spread through Vexelor. The hegemony's authority relied on inevitability, the image of absolute control. If that illusion fractured, countless subject races might rethink their loyalty. Whitfield continued reading reports as they streamed in. The Trixian Assembly has declared independence. The Kelborn worlds are calling for council reform. Several mining guilds are striking until humanity's accusations are addressed. Parker gave a curt nod. Sometimes the most decisive battles aren't fought with weapons. Information is a sharper blade, Reeves agreed. Now the hegemony must fight 2 wars, one against us and another within its own ranks. Vexelor could not help but feel a grudging respect. Humanity had not only trapped the invasion fleet, but used the moment to destabilize the entire empire, without firing a single shot. You planned this from the start, he said. The treaty talks, the delegation, ensuring Krendel was here to witness. It was never just about halting our invasion. The invasion was an opportunity, Reeves admitted, one we've been preparing for years to seize. Before further words could be spoken, another alert pulsed through the chamber. Supreme Overlord Zixtar was requesting direct communication hours before the deadline. The projection filled the air once more, though only Zixtar appeared. His towering frame still radiated power, but there was a hollowness to it now, a shadow of diminished authority. Ambassador Reeves, Zixtar began without ceremony. His voice was taut, the fury tightly leashed. The council has reviewed your terms. That was swift, Reeves said evenly. Have you reached a decision? Recent events accelerated our deliberations, Zixtar admitted, jaw tight. We will recognize human territorial sovereignty as proposed. Non-aggression protocols will be implemented immediately. Admiral Parker's brow arched. And the trade agreements? They will require negotiation, Zixtar conceded. But the framework is acceptable. In return, we demand the immediate release of our fleets and an end to these information campaigns destabilizing the hegemony. Reeves's reply was smooth, perfectly innocent. We never launched an information war. We merely allowed the truth to circulate. Your ships will be released once the agreements are signed and verified. Vexler felt the weight of history in that moment. The Supreme Overlord, who had never treated any species as an equal, was now forced to accept terms dictated by those he had sought to exterminate. The hegemony would never forget this humiliation, and humanity would never again be underestimated. Zixtar's voice was cold as steel. Commander Tornik and his crew will be returned to face hegemony justice for their failure. Vexer's chest tightened. Within the hegemony, failure brought punishments far worse than death. To his surprise, Ambassador Reeves shook her head firmly. Commander Tornik and his personnel will be granted asylum if they request it, or safe passage to any destination they choose. We will not deliver them to execution. They were following council orders, Zixtar roared. Precisely why we won't allow them to become your scapegoats, Reeves replied with measured calm. The council must bear responsibility for its own decisions. The Supreme Overlord looked ready to erupt with fury, but after a tense pause, he regained control. His words were clipped. Very well. The agreements will be transmitted within the hour. 6-star out, the projection dissolved. Vexer stared at the human delegation, disbelief etched across his face. You protected me. After what I planned to do to your world, Admiral Parker gave a casual shrug. Tactical advantage. Now every hegemony officer will know that failure in action against humanity doesn't automatically mean death. It creates options in future confrontations. Vexer tilted his head, considering, always thinking several moves ahead. Perhaps your species deserves its freedom after all. Ambassador Reeves's smile was thin, almost cutting. Freedom isn't deserved, Commander. It's taken and then defended. Humanity has understood that since long before we reached the stars. Later, as formal agreements were drafted in the diplomatic chamber, Dr. Fleming approached Vexer with open curiosity. I've been authorized to offer you an alternative to returning to hegemony space, the scientist said. We have research outposts in neutral territories studying astronomical phenomena. Your expertise could be invaluable, Vexer frowned. You would trust me? After everything? Fleming gave a short laugh. Trust is earned, but opportunity can be offered freely. Your choice will show us what matters more to you, loyalty to a system that would discard you, or the chance to build something new. Vexer considered the human's words. His entire career had been devoted to serving the hegemony without question, in blind faith to its inevitable dominance of the galaxy. But now that certainty was gone, shattered, replaced with something he had never experienced before, possibility, choice. I will consider your offer, he said at last. As the human delegation prepared for the signing ceremony, this time, a true peace treaty, Vexer reflected on the bitter irony. The original treaty had indeed been a lie, but not the lie he had planned. Humanity had orchestrated perhaps the most masterful deception in galactic history, presenting themselves as weak while building strength, feigning technological stagnation while advancing in secret, pretending isolation while quietly expanding influence. Ambassador Krendel of the Pleiadians approached, breaking Vexer's thoughts. His silver eyes glinted. The Council didn't just underestimate human technology, he said softly. We failed to understand human nature. What do you mean? Vexer asked. I've studied their history. I should have recognized the pattern. Again and again, humanity has allowed enemies to believe they were weaker than they truly were. They call it strategic ambiguity. They've used it against themselves for millennia, long before they ever carried it into the stars. Krendl's tone carried something that sounded suspiciously like admiration. The treaty was a lie, Commander, but so was everything we thought we knew about humanity. As Ambassador Reeves called the gathering to order, the new treaty materialized as a holographic projection above the table. At that moment, Vexer grasped a truth the hegemony had never understood. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this confrontation. They had invited it, shaped it, and controlled it from the beginning. The peace treaty wasn't merely a lie, it was a trap, and the hegemony had walked into it willingly, blind to the fact that these seemingly primitive mammals had been several moves ahead in a game they hadn't even realized they were playing. And now, the galaxy would never be the same.